is a voluntary choice of individual students for themselves. The board and administration will continue to monitor relevant guidance and infection rate data to inform future decisions. Also wanted to give you an update on the open board position. We did receive 13 applications, but we have not had the opportunity to review them yet. So we will be doing that over the next few weeks. So tonight's meeting is really to discuss our superintendent search process. So I wanted to welcome Bill and Stacey Adams from HYA and thank you for all of the work they've done over the last few very short period of time, last few weeks, and quick work and their dedication to completing all these interviews along with their associate, Monica Brown, as well. So thank you so much. The interviews, the focus groups, compiling the information and coming up with the desired leadership profile that we are going to, and characteristics we will see tonight. Since Bill and Stacey were integral in helping us with our strategic plan, it's nice to see you continue with us here. So thank you for being here. And also thanks to the parents, the community members, staff, students, board members for partaking in this superintendent search process. And I also did want to thank the Community House also for letting us use their space for hosting our in-person community forum. And James and Yolanda, his assistant, for all of their huge support. So I won't take up too much time, and I will let Bill and Stacey begin their presentation.
Well, good evening, and it's good to be back in Morristown from the strategic plan days 2 years ago, and to give you an update on where we are with the superintendent search. I'm Bill Adams, Vice President for HYA, the national search firm that's involved in the superintendent search process. It's a 4-phase process, and we've been involved in the first phase, which is engagement. That's to engage you, the community, and that's what happened over the past 2.5 weeks. We did interview about 155 residents, or 155 residents participated in focus groups, and another 450 with a survey. So there were over 600 people that did provide input. From that, we developed a leadership profile report, which really includes a lot of comments. And if you participated in any of those sessions, we never attribute a specific name, rather groups, and we bullet statements that were said. Based on that, we prepared a desired characteristics and essentially asked to meet tonight with the board to approve the desired characteristics so we can begin phase 2, which is recruitment. Recruitment of candidates, and then we'll go into a selection phase with the board, and then ultimately the board will select and we'll go into a transition phase to assist with the transition to the successor superintendent. So we're looking forward to doing that over the next couple of months, and just wanted to give you a few highlights from what was learned. We ask a series of questions to try and create actually a discussion. And there were some lively discussions during the input process. We did conduct 2 public forums, one that was done in the center of town outside, and one that was done virtually. So based on those meetings and so forth, we looked at what the immediate challenges are and what some of the immediate strengths are. And obviously there are a lot of great things and great reputations that this community has and that the school district has. So just by way of a couple of the highlights in terms of strengths that were identified. And by the way, the complete executive summary will be up tomorrow morning on the district website. So we're only going to hit a few highlights tonight. Also, I wanted to mention before I talk about it, the survey, complete results, there'll be a PowerPoint. We're going to hit a couple of highlights from that tonight, and that will be up tomorrow, along with the actual desired characteristics that Stacey's going to review in just a minute. So all of the information will be available on the district website under the superintendent search section. So what are some of the things that were considered strengths of the district? As I mentioned, the high quality of curriculum and co-curricular activities, the number of curricular and program activities, the positive reputation certainly of the school district, a dedicated and seasoned staff noted throughout. Certainly the strong commitment to students. And it seems like, especially in this community, very active community, very active parents, and sometimes with different missions and different goals. But when it comes time to support an initiative in the school district, it seems that community support is there, and we just think that's a positive uniqueness to this community. What were some of the challenges that were noted? Well, obviously this past year, COVID, no matter what school district up and down the East Coast that we've worked in, COVID took its toll on frustrations of various things that were done to try to accommodate students based on what the government would allow to be done. And so there were frustrations around that. So there were some things we saw that probably broke down in terms of communication, some things that came out in terms of challenges for the future, where some trust rebuilding or trust building needs to take place. So that was recognized as a challenge. Another challenge that we saw is, some of the changing demographics from when we were here 2 years ago, and some of the needs of the students in the middle, and the challenges for those students in the middle, as something as we looked at challenges. We saw with the potential for growth and what that might do for space in the district as things to look at, and we identified those challenges, and we use those as part of the recruitment process, as part of developing questions for candidates, and we'll also be using that information to actually help with the transition when the superintendent's selected. Let me give you just a couple of things out of the survey. And we used a Likert scale, and any of you did, if I could just maybe some kind of a motion, did any of you take the survey here? Okay, so a lot of you did, so excellent. So what were some of the things that were said in the survey, and some of the top things on the Likert scale, and we looked at it as 4 or above? District schools are safe, technology is integrated into the classrooms, the district employs effective teachers, administrators, and support staff in the schools, the district has high standards for student performance, students are on track for college and career ready, and facilities are well maintained. On the downside, what was on the low end of those areas picked? The district provides a clear and compelling vision for the future. The district is heading in the right direction. There's transparent communication from the district. They were areas that didn't come out as high on the community survey. So we use that to help guide as we not only recruit, but certainly to share that information with the governing body. From that, there were a number of characteristics or traits, and if you'll recall, when you took the survey, you were asked to rank 10 areas that are all identified as being very important, and frankly, we'd like to find someone that has all 10 of those characteristics. But some of the top ones that you were looking for: curriculum and instruction and assessment, an effective educational leader who develops support and a rigorous, coherent system of curriculum and instruction. To promote each student's success, regardless of the skills or regardless of the background of that student. Certainly someone that understands the mission and core values, not only in education, but of this community. And then ethics and professional norms were very high. And then community involvement and involvement with students were in that top 4 or so in that particular group. As I said, what we'll be doing is taking that information and using it as part of recruitment. What Stacey's going to provide you with is an overview of the desired characteristics that came from all of the input. More of the data, as I said, will be available on the website tomorrow morning or sometime probably by midday, because we have to get home and get it up and so on. But in any event, you'll have that, you'll have the complete survey, and you'll have the complete desired characteristics. So go ahead.
Yes, I agree with Bill. It's great to be back here in Moorestown, and it's also nice to see a few people who we saw that came out to the community forum. So with that said, the desired characteristics that we compiled, that we, as Bill said, will be up in totality tomorrow, is that the Moorestown Township Board of Education seeks a strong and engaged educational leader who possesses the following characteristics, and I'm going to highlight just a few of them. An innovative thought leader who is visionary and can implement the existing strategic plan in partnership with district stakeholders that results in the achievement of multiple measurements of success and academic goals. A leader who is focused on equity and student success, regardless of background, abilities, program of study, level of proficiency, or classification. A leader who is confident and compassionate risk taker, who is visible and present and builds trust and engenders respect through collaborative interactions with all stakeholders, with teachers, staff, board, parents, community members, and township officials. A leader who's a consensus builder, a systems thinker, and a collaborative leader who communicates regularly, systematically, and respectfully by engaging and valuing all stakeholders, who places the well-being of students at the center of every decision. Someone who seeks input prior to making decisions, communicates the rationale behind each decision, holds all the organization accountable to operationalize decisions, and understands the value of community discourse as issues are discussed. Someone who understands the importance of balancing data and compassion to skillfully address a growing student population with diversities and experiences, while honoring the history and legacy of Moorestown Township Public Schools. Someone who's an exceptional listener, communicator, and committed leader. Develops and maintains professional and collaborative relationships based upon commonly agreed upon goals and a strong set of core values. Someone who fosters a sense of community that embraces a shared vision of excellence, innovation, and equity to the staff, students, board, community, all stakeholders. Who listens and values the opinions of all stakeholders while demonstrating strength, empathy, and a positive disposition. And someone who invests in the community by being visible, present, and actively engaged in the district and community events, activities, and goals. Those are some of the highlights of the desired characteristics. Again, the document in its totality will be offered tomorrow on the website. Should I continue with the conversation? Okay. Other characteristics, they will have to have exemplary K-12 educational leadership experience in a community with similar demographics and/or complexities. Obviously be immediately eligible for the New Jersey Administrator Certificate, and the compensation range is in the salary of $225,000, depending upon qualifications, experience, and credentials, and subject to negotiations. So with that, I thank you very much for the opportunity to come out and meet with all of you. And once these are approved and the report is approved, we will be on our way getting very busy about recruiting the next successor superintendent for Moorestown Township Public Schools. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Stacey and Bill. Before we vote, do any board members have any last questions? I know we discussed this a lot already, but last chance to ask questions. And like they said, tomorrow morning, if this is approved, this will be on the website. So I'd like a motion to, request accepting the leadership profile and approving the desired characteristics to be utilized for the superintendent search. Have a motion, please?
So, second, David.
Thank you. Any last questions? I guess not. All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes, abstentions? Great. So it will be up on the website hopefully sometime tomorrow. Okay. Before we go into the public comment section, I would like to give Dr. Fitz an opportunity to say a few words, as he's now up here at the table with us, and the progress of the Planning September. If he wants to say a little hello to everyone, that would be great. There you go.
Thank you very much, Madam President, members of the Board of Education, our parents and guests. I'm humbled by the invitation that was extended to me to serve as the interim superintendent of school while you conduct a thorough search for the permanent superintendent of school. I want to tell you that I'm humble in many ways because Morristown School District is an exceptional school district. It has enjoyed a history of excellence and a great reputation over the years. I've lived in this community about 30 years, and I've had a chance to observe, see, and feel it. It's a district that excels in academics, athletics, and cultural opportunities for students. It's a district that is comprehensive. You offer more programs than most school districts offer, and I have spent my lifetime of almost 60, 70 years crisscrossing this state and including Pennsylvania. So I have a pretty good feel for what's going on out there in schools. You have a rich culture in this community with growing diversity, with incredible skills that surround us. And I'm most appreciative to have that. I also sense that you are committed to children, very committed to children. You want the best program for children. So while serving as an interim, I want to continue that legacy of providing the best opportunities in the safest environment for both students and staff. I'm receiving comments from you. You've obtained my email. And I want to thank you for sending me your comments. The comments are extremely helpful because they're going to help us to focus the direction that we are going to go. I want your observations. I want your comments. I want your recommendations. I want to get that research data because some of you are working in various areas, Children's Hospital and other community agencies. I need that data because that's going to help to inform our decision. Let me just tell you how we're going about this. We're going about this in a very organized, logical, and a tactical manner. We receive all of this information. We merge this information. We fracture it. We regrind it. And I'm not doing this alone. I'm doing this with a competent and a great staff. The executive management team of the school district, the principals, the school nurses, other educators are helping us to craft out what the next step should be. We're getting closer to it, but we're not ready to release it. And when I say getting closer to it, we are writing up what the next step should look like, considering all the information that we can get from the Department of Health, Department of Education, CDC, and from our experiences. So in combining all of that data, we will be preparing a document for the board to say, This is our recommendation. We want them to have the opportunity to reflect on it, to quiz, interrogate us, how we got there, why we're doing this, and then we will be ready to let it go public, okay? But I want to ask that you give us the patience. If you just be patient with us, if you just be a little tolerant. I hear your voices. I understand clearly what you're saying, and it's not being disregarded. I want you to know that. But we will get there. We've lived through the last 18 months, and we're determined not to let it lead us. We want to get ahead of it to continue to provide high-quality education for our children in this community while we keep them safe and we keep our staff safe.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fitz. We're happy to have you here. Okay. I'd like a motion to open the floor for public comment.
Motion to open. David?
Second.
Second? Is there a second?
Nick, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. So as we move into public comment, please come up to the mic, state your name and address. You will have 3 minutes to speak. As you know, it's not necessarily a question and answer period. Please do not address board members individually, and please be respectful when making your public comments. So whoever wants to go first, feel free to step up to the mic. No one? Okay.
Elizabeth Pollard, 64 Brooks Road. Masks are effective in preventing the spread of respiratory diseases as well as the short and long-term complications of these diseases. Multisystem inflammatory syndrome in children and in adults, and long COVID or long haul COVID can have severe and lasting consequences. Masks substantially reduce and exhale respiratory droplets and aerosols from infected wearers and reduce exposure of others to these particles. Masks have a long history of safety and efficacy. As pediatricians across the country have attested, there has been a significant rise in common respiratory viruses as masks have come off, illustrating the benefit of wearing masks. In order to prevent the spread and further spread of illness, we should continue to utilize masks in schools until the vaccine becomes available to children under 12 years of age. The CDC and American Academy of Pediatrics state that masks should be worn by everyone over 2 who is not fully vaccinated, and that it is safe to do so. It is one part of a comprehensive strategy to mitigate risk and reduce spread of disease. Thank you.
Excuse me. Good evening, Nicole Henry, 3 Shelter Rock Place. I'll make this brief. One request I have is that moving forward, now that our meetings are Zoomed and it kind of puts people in an awkward position to speak necessarily on the mic, knowing that it's out there for the World Wide Web, that we find a way to not have to announce our addresses prior somehow, just because unfortunately last meeting there was an incident where somebody, I guess, put our video and addresses out there to try to retaliate anybody who spoke in a way that they did not deem was appropriate. My second request is to do an anonymous poll to the teachers and staff at the schools. I feel as if it is important for them to speak up and feel where they can safely say, I am or I am okay or not okay with people wearing masks, regardless of their vaccination status. But I do believe it needs to be anonymous for the sake of the teachers being willing to speak honestly. And then I also request that we have the same thing done for the parents in the town so that, once again, we can see as obviously data changes, things change, and we've moved forward to see now where the community stands in regards to how they feel about the mask option. Thank you.
Hi, Jill Fallows, Macaluso, 800 Golfview Road. Just a very brief public comment for me. First, I'd like to thank Dr. Fitz. I really appreciated the statements that you made about the approach that you're going to take when considering, for example, fall reopening plans. It's just very assuring to hear that you're going to work with the leadership team within the schools and bring a recommendation that's thoughtfully considered and designed based on the available information to the board for their approval. It's really great to hear that, so thank you for that. You mentioned that you would you are listening, actively listening to the input from the community, and I also truly appreciate that. I know many of us in this room have written in with our positions. I myself wrote in with my fact-based opinion on masking standards for the fall for 2021-22 school year. However, I think there's a large part of the parent community that isn't engaged in the conversation, and their voices aren't being heard because they're not speaking up, and their input is not being sought via survey or other form of information gathering. So I would just ask that the board and Dr. Fitz consider whether there's a way to actively solicit input from some of the quieter voices as opposed to the louder voices like myself and some of the other folks here in this room. Thank you.
Good evening. Karen, can you hear me? Okay. Thought so. Karen Vidal, 441 Oldershaw Avenue. Thank you for the opportunity and for Dr. Fitz. I'd like to speak out when the CDC makes recommendations. There is no reason that we should go against them. There is no healthcare organization at the federal, state, or local level that has advocated for unvaccinated people in a building with no mask. Before COVID vaccines, adults were not working in a room with 25 plus unvaccinated people for 4+ hours with no masks on. We should allow our students that are unable to be vaccinated under 12 the same grace that we allowed adults in keeping this. This is not going to be a popular statement. However, it is very unfortunate that some far-right conspiracy theories are pushing for misinformation and disinformation. And the reason I say this is I believe that most people here are here because they truly care about the children in this district. I believe that and I see that. And so it's not that I don't see that happening, but then when I see things like people doubting a study, or I should say touting a study, and not even being able to critique it and look at it. The one that they're doing, it wasn't even a study, it was a letter. The authors were not pediatric pulmonologists. They're a psychologist and an OBGYN. They have several methodological issues, including sampling bias, as well as a lack of a control group. The instrument used is a device used in IVF labs, as in vitro fertilization. It is not what we use on pediatric patients. And pushing this misinformation, it grabs people who don't have the scientific background and they're like, oh my gosh, my child could be harmed. Well, of course, nobody wants to harm their child. And then I'm glad that you're saying we're not there yet. I've been saying this for a while now. We don't know what our rates are going to be. We are not there yet. We know that as of now, the Delta variant is the predominant strain in New Jersey. We know that nationwide COVID counts has doubled in the past few weeks. I've said again and again, we need to look at not just morbidity not just mortality, but also morbidity. We're coming out with studies from the UK that 12.9% of children 2 to 11 are having some long hauler symptoms. That's a large percentages. And then finally, I understand that people believe that this is a democratic process of masking or unmasking, but it's really not. And it comes back to focusing on what a child needs. We have protections from medical protections for students. I have a child with asthma. That child deserves to go to school and be protected and have themselves protected. We do this now. Our wonderful staff at South Valley has actually started, and this is somewhat unrelated, but bear with me, with allergies. So it first started when my child was at South Valley, that it was a peanut, tree nut free classroom. just based on if there was a child with the allergy. They found that more and more kids were having allergies. They looked at the data, evidence-based practice, and based off that data, they went through, and all of the classrooms are now peanut tree nut free. And that's my warning. Thank you. So that's what I was going to wrap up and say. Thank you for saying that you were going to look to our certified school nurses. They're the experts of the medical conditions in all of our buildings. I'm going to ask for one more thing. I know that the road back has actually allowed you to ask for vaccination status in all the buildings. And our school nurses have access to NJISS, and so if they could please report that data to you, I would be grateful. Thank you.
Hi, Sarah Rivera. I just want to thank you. I have a child in summer school right now, as do a few of us in this room, I believe. And our children are going mask-free at the UES and have since the start of summer school. So thank you. And we look forward to that continuing in the fall. So my children are mask-free now and will continue to be in the fall. Thank you.
Hi, Jackie Barnes, 100 Colonial. I've been coming to these meetings regularly for years. Rarely I feel the need to speak, mostly I don't. But I do feel the need to speak on this issue. I understand everyone here wants what is best for their children. What parent wouldn't? But I implore everyone, especially the board, to consider what is best for all children, as that is your responsibility. There are a number of children in this district for whom COVID could be a devastating illness. A number of pre-existing conditions and other illnesses make this the case. So just by painting this broad brush of kids are fine when they get it doesn't cut it. I'm not real concerned with what the survival rate is of kids. It's what happens to the most vulnerable of the children in school. And we know that in order for masking to work as a mitigation factor, it must be practiced by everyone. I can choose to mask my child if masking was made optional, but if the child sitting next to him is not also masked, he's at risk. And if he has one of these pre-existing conditions, that can be a big problem. The entire under 12 population, which is every elementary school and most of the UES, is not eligible for vaccination yet. Hopefully they will be soon for families who choose that, but it is not possible for them at this point to be considered fully vaccinated by the beginning of the school year. Kids have died. Just today, there was a story out of Mississippi where, because of the low vaccination rates and high prevalence of the Delta variant, 12 children are currently hospitalized, 10 in the ICU. Some reports are that all 10 are on ventilators. That is 12 too many in a hospital right now for something that could have been prevented with universal masking. Who here wants a child in our town to be needlessly hospitalized or worse? Who wants that on their conscience because masks are either too much of an inconvenience or what have you? As such, I beg the board to have masking requirements in place for kids under 12 when the school year begins. I really like to think of myself as a fairly reasonable person. I'm fully vaccinated. I'm sitting in this room unmasked. I'm comfortable. My going into 8th grade daughter is fully vaccinated. I'm comfortable with her. My 8-year-old is not and cannot be. So we rely on precautions taken by other people to keep them safe. Children at higher risk of severe COVID complications have every right to the same public education as everyone else. There is no possibility for remote education come fall. And if you want to have the kids back in school full time and cite the lack of transmission within school as a reason why this is possible come fall, which I believe it to be, you need to acknowledge universal masking throughout the last school year as a reason why this is so. Please consider the parents who are scared to death of the complications their child could encounter should a maskless return to school be the case. Consider that that parent might not want to come here and speak and face the hostility of the last meeting. And finally, consider the number of elementary student hospitalizations or worse that are acceptable to you personally. For me, that's 0. Thanks.
Wait, Jeff, what do you got?
Sorry, I forgot. Oh, there's one more.
Hi, Stacey Jenkins, 8 Dorchester Lane. I think we are all here with the same goal in mind, what's in the best interest of our children. Ultimately, as parents, we should be allowed to make the decisions that are impacting each of ours. We do this in all other aspects of their lives. Why are masks any different? In making our individual decisions, along with that comes respect for any and all that vary from our own. If parents choose to have their children wear masks as a family, we respect that, and so should the community. This is not about shaming or making anyone feel judged by their choices. It's about allowing us as community members to make decisions that are right for us and our children and our families. Aside from knowledge our kids learn from the textbooks, there's a huge social component of this that I think we're ignoring. Social aspects of growing up are so key to their future, as well as growing into the people that they'll become. Social cues, social responses, and making connections are all the basic foundation that I feel continued mask wearing interfere with. Ultimately, as Dr. Fitz stated, we all care about our children, academics, athletics, our community, and frankly, I believe that our time and energy should be spent on more impactful conversations that ultimately impact our children. I'm here in favor of parents and teachers making decisions that are best for them, and I additionally request that we survey our community and our teachers to ensure that we are gauging input from the entire community. I thank you again for your time and attention.
Hi, Daniella Regan, 620 North Washington Avenue. It's great to finally meet you, Dr. Fitz and Dr. Benton. It's great to see you here. I just wanted to mention a few things. I'm very nervous about the new variants that are out there. They're more severe, they're more contagious, and cases in the US have doubled in the last week. Our unvaccinated population are going to be the targets of this new variant, and that includes my daughter, and that includes all kids under 12 who can't get vaccinated yet. The CDC, the CHOP policy lab, and experts across the country are still recommending that children wear masks indoors if they're unvaccinated. I know that this year we're going to be looking at taking away the mitigation strategy of distancing. And so if we're going to be taking away one mitigation strategy, I don't think we should be taking away another one. We should be keeping masks just so we're not doing everything at once. You know, I'm really not asking for our kids to wear masks forever. I'm really looking forward to the day when we don't have to, and they don't have to. I want to see those smiling faces. But, you know, I do think that we should wait until my daughter and her peers have a chance to be fully vaccinated before we put them at risk. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Melissa Arcaro Burns, 8 Brooks Road. Thank you, Dr. Fitz, for your comments. I did truly appreciate them. I do want to say I think that the CDC guidance is crystal clear. Medical professionals are telling us what we can do to prevent the spread of COVID among unvaccinated groups of children. We know that masks work. There's documented evidence that rates of infection decrease when masks are used. Schools have reopened successfully around the country and in this town, and kids have remained healthy in our district specifically, in large part because of this mask wearing. In fact, we were able to reduce the social distancing from 6 to 3 feet because we continued that mitigation practice of mask wearing. Masks make a difference, especially with this new Delta variant that is currently taking hold. Any educated and informed person knows that masks don't work the way they are intended if only the compromised kids wear them. Kids like mine and lots of others in the district are bullied for the medical conditions that they have and the differences that they may display. Me sending him into school with a mask on is just another way he can be bullied. Opinions have been presented and articles have been forwarded for consideration. Emails have been sent. I am not honestly sure there is anything else we can say to convince you that we all have a moral obligation to take care of each other. We all do things we believe are in the best interest for our own particular kids, but mask wearing affects kids that are not ours. And we need to keep those kids in mind. I urge the BOE and the admin to follow the advice from the medical professionals trained in infectious disease. The proposal for mask optional at WAMS and the high school and masks being required in K through 6 is even less restrictive than the actual CDC guidelines. No one is asking for masks for the entire year. We are just asking that until those students have the option to be vaccinated if their family so chooses, this BOE and the administration do what they can to protect the most vulnerable in our community and require masks for students in K through 6. Thank you.
Hello, Anthony Dragan, 547 Eagle Brook Drive. I know we're not supposed to ask questions, but as this was kind of going on tonight, because I wasn't exactly sure what direction the Q&A, or excuse me, the public comment section would go. Are there plans to have lunch? You don't have to answer, like, you can just kind of nod your head. In this plan to go back with, masks or not, or I don't know how clear it is yet, but are there plans for the students to be there full day with lunch? Okay. So they're going to take their masks off. Yeah.
But yes, we're planning to serve lunch for kids who are going to be in school for a full day.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like you kind of tie yourself in a logic pretzel when you start thinking about the reason that we didn't have lunch and the reason we didn't have more in-person school last year was because of the mask issue. And you're either saying that you start to go down this road. It's a very difficult rabbit hole because you start to find illogical endpoints to this thing, and you wonder kind of where it ends. I mean, we're acting as though New Jersey wasn't one of the top 5 most masked up lockdown states in the United States. It was. This isn't, I mean, we're not Alabama, Texas, Florida, things like that. There are other states and other communities. They all have kids with special needs. They all have things that we're all concerned about. I mean, I like to think that Morristown's special, but we're actually not that special. Everybody thinks that they're special. Every township, every borough in this country has a special feeling about their school, and everybody's doing it differently. What I would just encourage is that you all don't do the mistake that you did last year, which is to write things in concrete, both as a superintendent and as a board, and be willing to continually examine things as they come out and stay within the mainstream. I think that what upset a lot of people is that you had schools down the road from us that were doing things a lot more progressively than we were. It's the same communities. These kids are interacting with each other in other forums and things like that. There's nothing talismanic about the masks, as there isn't anything talismanic about 6 feet or plexiglass or any of the other things. And we were told at the beginning of the year that if you didn't have all those things in place, then it was an all or nothing situation. And now that's being moved to say, well, we don't need plexiglass, we don't need 6 feet, we can go to 3 feet, but you still have to wear masks. And not only do I have to wear it, but you have to wear it, and my mask protects your mask and everything like that. There's different rules for the healthcare setting. I am a physician. I've never really talked about that in this forum before because I'm here, I'm just dad. I'm a professor of medicine for 15 years. It is not monolithic. The medical community opinion about this is not monolithic. You should maybe think about getting a group of people from different perspectives who take care of different type of patients to get together and maybe have a community forum. You've done community forums for other things that you thought were important this year. I'd be happy to participate. I'd be happy to bat things back and forth with people in a setting that's more than 3 minutes. We can talk about studies. We can talk about the strengths and weaknesses. I published a study in a peer-reviewed journal this year about treating COVID-19 safely in cancer patients. It was the largest study in the world to date, so I know how to look at the data. I just think that there's no right or wrong answer. The wrong answer is to be backing yourself into a corner at the very beginning of the year and adhering to that throughout the year. This thing changes very quickly. Thank you.
Courtney Johnson, 29 Brooks Road. Sorry, I'm vertically challenged. Sorry about that. How are all of you? I come here tonight as a Morristown alum, medical professional, but more importantly, a concerned parent. I have 2 children in the school district come this fall, a son and a daughter. My speech tonight is about choices, and how they have influenced my life. First, I would like to speak as an alumni. I'm here tonight because I believe I was given a pristine education in this school system. Morristown education system has taught me more valuable lessons in my life, including integrity, maintaining core inner strength, and last but certainly not least, morale. My husband and I worked extremely hard to buy a house in what I considered to have the best educational system in the state. Please don't tell my husband. I was wrong. In the last 18 months of this pandemic, the choices and/or decisions made by the school have been nothing but abysmal. You have put others first and the students last. I find this ironic because when I was a student here, I know my parents felt that the school protected us, made sure our best interest was at the heart of every school decision. Maybe it is why I felt so prepared as I furthered my education in medicine, let alone becoming a parent, making crucial yet in times life-threatening decisions about what's best for my patients and children. We need to do better, put the children first. This portion will continue as my role as a concerned parent. I have made decisions for my children based on the best options available. The key word here is options. My daughter was born with an extremely rare condition. She is one of 9 people ever born with this and is the only one to have survived the operation once and is still living. She is considered immune compromised. But the point is that she is alive today and is thriving because of the choices she was giving. We decided to proceed. We were not told what to do. We were not told how to do it, but with choices. And here she is and is thriving and will be in the Morristown education system come this fall. Thirdly, as a medical profession, as an ICU nurse at the University of Penn, I work in the SICU, where our unit during the pandemic was turned into the COVID ICU. Words could never describe what I saw, what I did, and how the world of medicine changed around me. With all this being said, I am up here stating that I firmly believe that our children are at a low risk. We need to stop mandating masks on them because it is in fact causing irreparable damage, both physical and psychological. And this is coming from someone who is fighting and is still fighting every day on that unit. I firmly believe that these children should be given the right of choosing whether or not they want to wear a mask. In conclusion, as a parent in the medical field, I know what is best for my children. I have done my homework thoroughly, thanks to the Morristown school system, and I would never put anyone at risk if I ever thought there would be severe consequences in this community. Bottom line is we deserve the right to be given a choice with regards to our children. If I was not given choices that I was today, I would not be in the current position that I am, a well-educated mother of 2 beautiful, healthy children living in Morristown. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Anyone else? Okay. Now I'd like a motion to close public comment.
Motion to close, David.
Second?
Second, Nick.
Thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn, David.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.